Hi everyone, I'm William Strife, and today I want to talk about paying for MMOs. After my time spent playing The Elder Scrolls Online during its many beta events and making video content over it, I can't help but notice particular statements and arguments that keep cropping up. I'm specifically referring to the idea that massive multiplayer online games, or MOGs if you will, aren't worth a subscription fee and should all be free to play. This idea that MOGs aren't worth money bothers me. It's not the fact that some people don't want to pay. I get that. Everyone wants to save money. No, what bothers me is how so many people don't get or have never thought about why subscription-based MMOs exist and the inherent difference between free and paid MOGs. This isn't about which one is right, it's about how neither is really wrong. Massive multiplayer online games are community-centric and can only survive if a stable community sets up for the long term. No matter what, a MOG's longevity relies on people who will continue to play the game for months on end. The only reason why anyone would do this is to engage in the game's unique group activities. This takes form in things like raiding, where there needs to be a group effort to get something done. The replayability of the endgame has to be focused on activities that require reasonably sized parties to work together, because if there's no incentive or need to work with other people, then there's little to no reason for anyone to continue playing a multiplayer title. All online games face this dilemma, but that's where the similarities between subscription and free-to-play MOGs end, and they begin to deviate, tackling the problem in different ways. In the case of free-to-play MOGs, there's no software purchase or subscription fee, making the barrier to entry much lower. But the quality of content tends to be of a lower overall caliber as a result. Now I know that's a bold statement, but let me explain. Free-to-play MOGs supplement their income through microtransactions, opting to finance their continued development by selling in-game commodities to players, like items, equipment, or even experience and character levels. The problem is, the microtransaction system tends to feed value back into nothing other than itself. If the game is only profitable because of the items and commodities sold in microtransactions, then it makes more sense to add additional items to sell instead of creating new dungeons to run or quests to complete. This is the reason why free-to-play MOGs tend to languish over time with a lack of new content to play. It's not that the free-to-play and microtransaction system is wrong, neither does it mean that the system always breeds poor quality content. It's just the most common problem that plagues most free-to-play MOGs. This system could be turned back on itself though. For instance, if a free-to-play MOG used microtransactions to sell not items but dungeon runs or actual interactive bits of the game, the quality of the MOG could very well improve. I can't imagine such a move would go over well though. If any title did such a thing, the community would no doubt immediately cry out over the contents of a free game being held hostage behind a paywall. And thus this leads to how a subscription-based system, at least when run by a reputable company, can result in a better ongoing game. If there's a steady income to support the development of a MOG, and the money is actually put back into making the game better, the developers can continue to create and patch in new quests, items, bosses, and interactive experiences so people will keep playing. In a way, delivering free content, even though you already paid up front via subscription. But once again, that's only if the game is made by a reputable company and a good enthused development team. What it all comes down to is how all MOGs need money to run, and will face a bottleneck for funding. The difference between free play versus a subscription system is a matter of where that pinch point lies. With subscription-based MOGs, the weight is placed on consumers to trust the developer from the outset. Trust that they'll make a good game that'll be worth playing both initially and in the long term, thus worth paying for up front. Meanwhile, free-to-play MOGs put all of the weight on developers, putting the income on the back burner. This method banks on gamers deeming the title and its microtransactions worthy of purchase after they've already gotten at least part of the product. And only if they do start buying in is the game funded for additional development. Thus, we come back to The Elder Scrolls Online, and why it's a subscription-based MOG. Clearly, ZeniMax Online believes the game to be worth a monthly fee, and as stated by Pete Hines, the mouthpiece of Bethesda's PR department, this also means they're willing to put the effort in to make the payment worthwhile, by patching in new, interesting, and fun content. Because, let's face it, that's the best reason to pay a fee, to get new stuff in the game. And it makes sense that after a year of monthly charges, you would expect the game to have more content and value than when you bought it at launch, especially given that a year's worth of fees is about the same price of 3 new games. Only time will tell if Elder Scrolls Online will be a game that's worth it, a title that makes a subscription fee worth the cost, and has a virtual world where a dedicated community will want to put down roots. Only time will tell. Until then, though, the only question you as a user, as a gamer, and as a potential subscriber have to answer is, do you trust ZeniMax to deliver a world to make friends in, a fun experience to meet them by, and a game that will still be fun to play in years' time? Well, that's how I feel about Elder Scrolls Online, as well as massive multiplayer online games. Go ahead and voice your opinions down in the comments if you feel like it. However, if you want to have a larger discussion, check out my subreddit. There's a link in the description. The only thing I like more than comments is reasonable discourse, or rather, people not screaming their opinions at each other. But otherwise, I'll see you later. Strife out.